Hey, how's it going, Internet? Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about something that's really important to me, and that is none other than the presidential election. Now, I want to get something out of the way right off the bat. My name is Jonathan O'Halloran. I am an 18-year-old college student who just voted in their first election from the great state of New Jersey, currently residing on the campus of Xavier University in Cincinnati, Ohio. And yes, I voted for Donald Trump. And this is a message to anyone who says Donald Trump is hashtag not their president. Now, unless you've been living under a rock for the past month or so, you know that Donald Trump defeated Hillary Clinton in a surprising upset during the presidential election on November 8th. Now, Trump did this by turning 3 states red that had not gone Republican since the 1980s. And those states are Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. By the end of the night, Donald Trump had 306 electoral votes, much more than the 270 that he really needed to win. In the days that followed, a lot of people on the internet, and even outside in the real world, didn't take this too lightly. People began rioting in the streets, and if you do a quick Google search for protests against Donald Trump, most of them using the hashtag #NotMyPresident, you will find an endless stream of results. Now, I take issue with these peaceful protests in a few different ways, but we'll get to that later. First, I think it's really important that people understand how Donald Trump won and how this happened and why it happened. And then we'll get into really why the media is doing this the way that they're doing this. A lot of things that the media has done since the election is fear-mongering at its absolute finest. It's making people scared, some unwarrantedly. And I am not the only one who feels this way either. A new poll that just came out by Politico says that 67% of the American population does not have good trust in the media. 67%. On election night, I watched news anchors on CNN openly cry that Donald Trump was going to be the next president. And on top of that, anybody who's ever watched Saturday Night Live knows how they do their cold open. Rare occasions they do a somber opening. Usually in the case of catastrophes anywhere in the world, some of the immediate ones that come to mind would be that of 9/11, the Sandy Hook shooting. Instead of opening their program with their normal hit cold open, Saturday Night Live decided to do this.
And even though it all went wrong, I'll stand before the Lord of Song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah.
That was SNL cast member Kate McKinnon portraying Hillary Clinton. It just boggles my mind that SNL put the election of Donald Trump on the same tier as a 9/11 or any other terrorist attack or any other shooting, any other major catastrophe in the world. In the days after Trump announced his running for president on the Republican ticket, the media immediately scrutinized him, played him down, told everybody he didn't have a chance. Some of the most potent examples of that would be some of the following, like this.
Donald Trump, just last week, he confirmed to the National Review that he is again considering a run in 2016.
Do it. Do it. Look at me. Do it. I will personally write you a campaign check now on behalf of this country, which does not want you to be president, but which badly wants you to run.
Or this.
Which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones, right now, Donald Trump.
And even this by our own president, Barack Obama.
President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States! Exclamation point at real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump, at least I will go down as a president.
Throughout the terms of Trump's primary election and going into the general election, the media continued to be negative about Trump in every single term, mixing his words around, taking things out of context, because the people developed a very negative image of Trump. Of course, one of the easiest examples of that is the misconstrued information that the media had about Donald Trump's opening comments from his announcement of the presidency, where he talked about illegal immigration and illegal immigrants. His quote was, When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have a lot of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. But I speak to border guards, and they tell me what we're getting, and it only makes common sense. It only makes common sense. They're sending us not the right people. Now, Trump, based on the full statement, is clearly talking about the Mexican government and illegal immigration. They're not talking about immigrants in general, and they're not even talking about Mexicans. The media has portrayed this as Trump meaning all immigrants, which is a big twist on the difference between just talking about illegal immigrants and immigrants in general. Saying this about illegal immigrants does not make you racist. And again, this shouldn't be about your stance on immigration or immigrants at all. This has nothing to do with that. This is about his words and how the media has portrayed those words to the people. And then, of course, there's one of my other favorite misconceptions. In July of this year, there was a graphic posted on Trump's Twitter account that looks a little bit like this. And the media tried to claim that Trump was making an anti-Semitic reference because he was using a 6-point star in that graphic. And the criticism on Trump for his abortion stance is not something that you should be really angry with Trump about, but it's more than something you should be angry about with the entire Republican Party. If you're pro-choice for women, and you feel that abortion being illegal would be impeding a woman's rights, then you don't have a problem with Donald Trump. You just have a problem with Republicans in general. The fact that Donald Trump is a Republican and he is pro-life should not come as all that surprising, and it should not be that big of a subject in the presidential debate as it was. Democrats are pro-choice, Republicans are pro-life. That's just how it's always been. And this is not to say that in any way Donald Trump is a saint either. Donald Trump has his problems. He has a lot of them. Frankly, there are a few things that are inexcusable that he has done in the past, namely the Access Hollywood tapes. As far as Trump's claims throughout the election about it being rigged, he's not entirely wrong in that retrospect either. The media, the Democrats, and even for a time the Republicans all did not want Donald Trump to win this election under any costs. Hell, they didn't even want him to win the Republican nomination. With the media constantly spewing attacks on Trump in every which way, whether he said it, whether he didn't, and flipping his words around one way or the other, that when Trump actually did win this election, people were stunned and people were scared. And rightfully so. If people fed me all that information, I'd be scared too. The days that followed the election on November 8th, and still, up until now, riots broke out across the country. No matter what people are telling you, a far majority of them are indeed riots. They're not peaceful protests. Blocking roads, shutting down bridges, those aren't peaceful protests. The way that the media has dealt with Trump is by not reporting certain things. A lot of people do believe that Trump is against the rights of the LGBT community when that couldn't be any farther from the case. Now, I understand this VP pick of Mike Pence has a history with being very discriminatory toward the gay community. But people do need to understand that Mike Pence is pretty much powerless under Trump's reign. Trump is the president. Mike Pence does not decide anything. And these were Trump's comments that went unreported from the mass media during the Republican National Convention in Cleveland. No Republican presidential candidate in the history has ever said anything even close to that in support of gay rights. And based on that, you could make the argument that Trump is probably the most open president to the rights of the LGBTQ community than any other Republican nominee ever. Currently, as this is being recorded, Green Party nominee Jill Stein has decided to raise money to get a recount in the 3 states of the aforementioned Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. They are doing everything in their power to prevent Trump from taking the oath of office in January. But to that, this is what I say for the American people. Donald Trump will be your next president, whether you like it or not. Hillary Clinton said in her concession speech the day after the election, "I still believe in America, and I always will. And if you do, then we must accept this result and look to the future. Donald Trump is going to be our president. We owe him an open mind and the chance to lead. Our constitutional democracy enshrines the peaceful transfer of power." That may be the only thing Hillary Clinton has ever said that I agree with. Quite frankly, we as the American people need to come together. We have too many enemies right now, both foreign and within our own country. And now more than ever, we need to come together as a country. If for whatever reason you choose not to accept Donald Trump as your next president, Donald Trump will not be responsible for the divide in this country. Donald Trump will not be responsible for the hatred that is among us as American citizens right now. Donald Trump will not be responsible for any of this. You will. I believe that we are best suited as a country to be united as one under our president, whomever it may be. In this case, it is President-elect Donald Trump. And it is of the utmost importance to me that we as a nation are united as one and hope for his success as the 45th President of the United States of America.